Welcome back. We're going into part 3 of Revelation 13, the United States in prophecy. And we have went through a lot, both in terms of trials, trying to stop us from doing it, as we saw, as well as just taking time and going through all the details of Revelation 13, things that would help us as we get into that chapter. Again, the book of Revelation is not for everybody. Okay, I understand that in Christianity, they try to make you think that everybody or anybody is supposed to understand this stuff. But Revelation itself tells you that's not true. It's called the Revelation, and let's read it exactly as it says for those Christians or those people that don't understand this. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which Yah gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. So it's not for everybody. It's for his servants. Messiah told the disciples, whatever my Father reveals to me, I will share with you, because he said, you're not servants, you're friends. So he even called them closer than servants. But the servants are outlined in the book of Revelation. Hold the winds until we have sealed the servants of our Most High in their foreheads. Revelation chapter 7, verses 1 through 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and the number was 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. So now we understand the book of Revelation is not for everybody. It's for the servants of Israel. Therefore, it is important that we understand who are the Israelites in 2021, 2022, 2023, and going forward. That would be those who the Bible describes as the ones that were placed in slavery, scattered into the four corners of the earth, dispersed, the byword among the nations, the poor ones that had chains of iron upon their neck, the ones that are the lowest class, and Deuteronomy 28, Leviticus 26, Ezekiel chapter 36, all describe Jeremiah 30, Jeremiah 4. All of these places describe only one set of people. Look like ancient Egyptians, Exodus chapter 2 and Exodus chapter 3. Acts chapter 21. That describes who the true Israelites are. Were taken into ships in slavery, in chains. Okay? So now we know who the servants are. It's important that we understand that, because the other religions do not teach you that. They do not teach you that. Okay? According to the very word of the Most High, it shows us in detail who the servants would be in the last days. And it actually said, remember we read it in Deuteronomy chapter 4, latter days. Okay? So now we know who the servants are. So the book of Revelation is not for everybody to understand. It's for the true Israelite people to understand. And it's part of the awakening that we are now dealing with right now. We're in the midst of the awakening. Okay, thank you, Castle King. I do. You know what? If you come from New York, if you come from New York, then you understand, right? I mean, New York, we lose our hands a lot in our communications. I'm not giving myself no excuse. I've had other people actually talk to me about that. Say, be careful with them hand gestures, because, the enemy uses hand gestures for his people. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's he ain't joking, man. You ain't right. You right. But but it's true though. We from New York. We use hand gestures a lot. We just grow up like that. But anyway, doing the best I can. Keep praying for me, Castle King. We'll get it one day. Praise the Most High. So, what was that? All right. So, so in Revelation chapter 13, we were reading how in Revelation 13:11 that there is a power, a kingdom, a nation that would rise up after the powers of Rome. Right. And we saw that that's the United States of America. Why? It describes this nation as not having risen up among waters of seas, which represent Gentile powers fighting each other for power. Right. It rise up out of the earth, because it just came into unwalled cities and took over. Matter of fact, let me show you where else they think they're going to do that in Ezekiel chapter 38. Ezekiel chapter 38. This is why I say rise up out of the earth. Look, Ezekiel chapter 38. Again, praise the Most High for his word. In Ezekiel chapter 38, let's read from verse 10 and let's read verse 11 and 12. Okay. Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 10, 11, and 12. Actually, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Ezekiel 38, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And this accurately describes the way the Gentiles thought when they established the United States of America. Okay, so let's look at it. Ezekiel 38, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Notice what it says. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, it shall come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind. Talking about the Gentiles, Gog and Magog. And thou shalt think an evil thought. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle, goods, and that dwell in the midst of the land. Sheba and Dedan, merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions thereof, shall say unto thee, art thou come to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil? This, what I'm reading about here, is the second resurrection. But this is the same thought they had in Revelation chapter 13, when they took the land that is now the Americas, when they took the land of South Africa, when they took the land and colonized most of the nations of Africa, when they took the land that is now Australia, when they took the land that is now Japan. They thought the same thought. They were going to the land of unwalled villages with no bars or gates. See, the Indians that were here in this land, they had teepees, right? They had tents. We know about tents. The Bible tells about tents. But they didn't have bars of villages. They didn't have their villages guarded by bars. And so the heathen came and saw they got no protection. We could just take it. And they did. That's why it says in Revelation chapter 13, verse 11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had out of the earth. And he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Yes, the tents of Shem. That's why I say, that's why when we studied Hosea, if you remember, we studied the prophecy of Hosea, and it showed us, described to us, the northern tribes. Hosea was a prophet of the northern tribe, and it described a little differently what happened to them, although it was the same result. But it described what happened to them, being scattered, being wanderers throughout the earth, being conquered. Described them, right? Hosea. And so here they came. Hosea is Shem, right? Northern tribes are Shem. So they came and they did. Now here, coming up out of the earth, that's what it did. Took unwalled villages, took people that weren't, thinking about war and killing and raping. Came and did it. Okay? That's the United States. And then they really are a dragon, but they represent themselves as a lamb. The lamb represents Messiah. So you have a nation that claims to be a representation of Messiah, of freedom and liberty and Christianity. Okay? But they're really a dragon. And we brought out the point that the so-called founding fathers of this nation, many of them were slave owners. And what does that mean? When you understand the slaves were the true Hebrews, then you will now understand that they held true Hebrews in captivity, that they bought and sold true Hebrews, just like the Bible shows us in the book of Joel. Let's go to Joel for a second. Joel chapter 3. Joel chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Joel chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Notice what it says. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that they might remove them far from their border. There you go. So those founding fathers were slave owners of Hebrews, rapists of Hebrews, took the Hebrew names from them and planted their own heathen names on us. And again, I use the names Jefferson and Washington because there is no doubt there's a lot, tens of thousands of Jeffersons and Washingtons in the United States of America. Many Hebrews with the name of Jefferson and Washington and Madison and Adams. Where do you think you got those names from? You didn't get them from where you come from. They planted their names on us. Because why? We were their property. Okay? And to this day, we're wearing those names. And yet the heathen are trying to tell us, y'all should forget that. They don't even want it being taught in the schools. They create this term, critical race theory, and then they fight against it so that nobody in school can learn the truth. That is why, brothers and sisters, we have to know what? The scriptures. And that is why we teach our children what? Our history. Teach them our history. See, when you talk the Bible, when you were a Christian, right, you would talk about Moses. You would talk about, the prophets, if you read them. You would talk about the apostles, and you would talk about them as some person that wasn't related to you. But when you talk about them when you're awakened, you say, this is where we come from. This is our history. And isn't that what Moses said? Tell it to your children and your children's children. Tell them what? About some other people? No. Tell them about you, where you come from, your people. That's how you teach them out the word. You teach your children. You sisters, you teach your little children. You teach your grandchildren. This is your history. This is where you come from. Moses is your relative. All of these brothers are your relative. This is where they come from. The Messiah, who they call Christ, is your cousin. That's your cousin. That's how you teach it. And everything in this book is the history of your people. Okay, everything in the book is the history of your people. Because why? Because that's true. These are your forefathers. Okay? And that's what we teach. So, the founding fathers of this nation came here, and because of the sins of our fathers, they were permitted to slaughter our fathers and take this land. It's prophetic, right? So they did that. And they pose as Christians. But when we are awakened, we understand what the real deal is. Okay, now we understand why it says it was given unto him to make war with the saints and overcome them. We understand why. And now, because of the prophecies, we understand how it's going to change. And the next time we study, by the grace of the Most High, we'll be doing chapter 14. And that's when you're going to see the change. Okay, but here we're seeing the development of the beast with the 7 heads, 10 horns, and crowns on his head. And we're seeing how it got to that point. And we're in the midst of it, getting to that point right now. The only thing stopping it, as we know, is the final seal of the 144,000. It's the only thing stopping it right now. The only thing. Okay? So we know that. All right? We know that. So now, Revelation chapter 13. Revelation 13, verse 12. Actually, I'm going to read 11 and 12 together. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb. And he spake as a dragon. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him. And causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Now, there's a lot in here that we need to uncover as we're looking at this. Look at the verse. It says he exercises all the power of the first beast before him. Well, where did the first beast get its power from? Notice Revelation chapter 13, verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So as the first beast, Rome, received establishment, power, and authority, that says it gave him his power, his seat, his establishment, and great authority from the devil, the second beast, the United States of America, exercises the same power. But it gives you the indication that it's subservient to the first beast. Why? Notice it closely. It says, and it causes, in verse 12, causes the earth and them that dwell therein to do what? To worship the first beast. So it's giving honor to Rome and Rome's religious, economic, and political system by giving honor to it and creating its system just like it. All right. Also, I want you to notice how much power does the second beast exercise in the name of the first beast. It says it causes the earth. It didn't say causes one part of the earth, causes the north, causes the east, the rest, the south. No. It says it causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. Therefore, what are we looking for? If you didn't know this was the United States, let's look at the characteristics. That's how the Bible does it. It gives you all of its characteristics. This is a nation that claims to represent Messiah. Okay, claims to represent Messiah. And it acts like it's a dragon, though. It speaks and acts with authority of a dragon, deceives the earth, right? And it's got worldwide authority and power. How many nations does that describe? Worldwide authority and power, so that it can suggest to the earth how they should worship. Look, it says it causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. You see, brothers and sisters, notice the code words that they use. Let's just go to some of the code words that you and I hear every day that they say right in front of us, but nobody picks it up. They'll say this: conservative, liberal. Do they not? Conservative, liberal. Who is conservative? Well, one of the tenets of conservatism is supposed to be what? Christianity, is it not? So they say conservative and liberal. What they're really saying is lamb-like beast. You following me? Okay, those are some of the code words that they use. What else do they say? Here's a big one. You ready? Here's a big one. We have to spread democracy. Have you ever heard that? We need to make the world safe for democracy. What is democracy? Well, I think I'm not stretching it if I say they want the nations that receive democracy to look like the United States. Well, what does the United States look like? A lamb-like beast that speaks as a dragon, has the kings of the earth in it, the corporate powers. So in other words, you go to some of these nations today, what will you find? You find Coca-Cola, Pepsi. You find drug companies, Microsoft, Amazon. You find all of these banks, Bank of America, Citibank, Chase. You get that with what? Democracy. And they have people right now in Russia are complaining because the thing that the United States is doing in toying with Russia is they're taking out their corporations that the people are used to receiving stuff from. They're not going to wake up and get their colored cornflakes that they used to get. The Coca-Cola is going to be gone. Okay? They're not going to be able to get stuff from Amazon. And they're not used to that. The people are used to that. You're going to see them. I'm telling you, the next move is for Putin to be killed. I'm not trying to, wish it on him, but what you're going to see next, why I say that? Because it's not like I got to be a prophet. All you got to do is look at the previous nations that were in this position. Only they were not children of Yefet. You see previous nations and they overthrow. The Shah of Iran was overthrown. He was supported by the United States, overthrown by Ayatollah Khomeini. And now Iran is in an adversarial relationship with the United States. But they got all of the corporate stuff. And during the course of the war with Iraq, You had underground stuff taking all the Kellogg's cornflakes and the and all of the United States corporation stuff was being smuggled in until they couldn't take it anymore. Okay, so I'm saying it's not a stretch. They're now, when they say economic sanctions, they got the country already hooked on the nipple of the corporation products and services. And so they take that away. And then they take away the money. How are they taking away the money? The banking system is a one world banking system. They shut off the money. This happened to Russia before. And they fought Afghanistan, I think it was the late 80s, they were fighting Afghanistan. And Afghanistan won, not because I'm not saying them soldiers in Afghanistan wasn't tough, because they knew their own mountains, right? But the money was shut off. The soldiers for Russia stopped getting money because the central banks shut off their money. You need money to make war, to get weapons and such. And so they shut it off. And you saw soldiers, go look this up, they were walking off the field of battle, just trying to get back home. They weren't getting paid. They weren't getting paid anymore. Okay. So that's how you do it. They shut you off. They got the world system. They shut you off financially. They shut you off. They shut you off economically. And then from within, the people themselves despise their leader. And they don't like this anymore. So either the leader changes or he gets killed. Okay. So there you go. So now, that's why it says, all causes the earth. And you're seeing that even with the Russia-Ukraine situation. You're seeing that. Okay. They can easily. Now, what would make this a world war, just as an aside? What would make this a world war? Well, if you have a war where this is what's stopping it from becoming a world war. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I can see it coming. Ukraine joins NATO. Okay. If Ukraine ever joined NATO, then you get all the NATO nations, which are the G10, coming at Russia. Then you'd have Russia fighting the G10, right? Russia fighting NATO. Then you'd have China coming to the aid of Russia. Now you have a world war. Doesn't take much. Okay. Now you have a world war, right? So now and the power is because the United States is the power that influences NATO, right? I think we could all see that. The president of the United States, no matter who's in the office, they influence NATO. The meetings for the G10 happen out of the United Nations, which is based in New York. Now they may have their Bilderberg meetings in different countries, but usually 9 times out of 10, no, they're going to be in one of the G10 nations. You can always know that. The Bilderberg meetings in one of the G10 nations. Okay, so there you go. So you can see the United States is the influence over the planet, as prophecy tells us. This prophecy, let us remember, it was given to John 1,600 years before the founding of the U.S. Think about that. More than 15 centuries before is telling us about this nation. Okay. There you go. So that's why you can know right now. It tells us all the earth. So therefore, what does that mean? Well, Russia's going to lose. If China gets involved, they're going to lose. How do we know? It says what? And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him and causes the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. So if he's able to cause the earth to do anything, that's a world power. That's world power with world control right there. And he's giving honor to that first beast. World power, world control under the supervision of Rome. There you go. And only the servants will understand that clearly. This is a message for the servants of Yah. Okay, so that's why we know what's going to happen. Don't worry when they talk about world war and there's going to be a lot of dead people. Yeah, women and children are going to die. They're going to be in Europe. And then what's going to happen is they're going to cause the people of the United States, the young men, you getting young kids that they're not even legally allowed to drink, right? But they'll be on battlefields getting blown to bits. 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, men and girls and boys. And then they'll send 40-year-olds out there too when they need to. And they'll be on some foreign sailor getting blown to bits. And those that survive will come back here and end up on the street having to deal with the stuff they saw. and not getting any support from their government. That's the way it works, brother. Okay, so this is here, and we're seeing it right here. We're seeing it right here. It's not even like we got to imagine it. It's already happening. Okay, so that's why I'm already telling you the United States is going to win, because it's destined to win. It's destined to win. There'll be no opposition. The only opposition to the United States government is the people that decide to leave the worship of Babylon and not worship the image anymore. That's going to be the problem. That's the first stage of coming out of Babylon, leaving Babylon worship, which is man-made religious system. And that's for the Hebrews to come back to their God, because they're called by his name. We didn't make ourselves up. And that's why I tell people, even I mentioned a Morgan Freeman as a sellout. He's a sellout, but he's a Hebrew sellout. He's Hebrew. He may not want to believe he's Hebrew. He may deny he's Hebrew. That doesn't matter. That just makes him Judas. Judas was a Hebrew. Same with so well, not so well. Same thing. These brothers are still Hebrews. They just sell out Hebrew. There are Hebrews that sell out like Judas, right? And Caiaphas, right? And then there are Hebrews that surrender like Kaffa and Yochanan, that are awakened to the truth. You understand? Don't let nobody tell you you got to do certain things to be a Hebrew. You're born a Hebrew. That's what's the difference between us and everybody else. It's not like we do these things because we are choosing to join a church. We are born into it or not. So Gentiles that are born not in the bloodline, they're born not in the bloodline, but they can still join with the Hebrew. There are a group of Hebrews, born Hebrew. Remember, it was Abraham's seed, the bloodline, that he was taken out of Egypt. Okay, he wasn't taking Egyptians. Egyptians came with him, some of them, but it wasn't the goal to take Egyptians out of Egypt. The goal was to take Hebrews out of Egypt by blood. And that's still the situation. So you could get a Morgan Freeman that's a sellout, or a Thomas Sowell that's a sellout. That's fine. That don't make it any different. They're still bloodline descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No matter who they are, no matter what they choose. You're born that way, right? So now you're going to get a group of born Hebrews that's not going to follow the lamb-like beast and the religion of the 10-horned beast. Not going to follow those two beasts. They're going to follow the word of their Most High, as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did. And that's going to be the problem. They're not going to worship the image. The image is the whole Babylonian religious system. That's the image to the beast. Why? Because it's created in its image. That's why it's like Nebuchadnezzar was the object lesson. You had Nebuchadnezzar, and then you had a statue in his image. You had a statue in his image. Okay? You had Nebuchadnezzar, and then they worshiped the image of Nebuchadnezzar. And then by doing that, they worship Nebuchadnezzar. Well, Christianity, the three Abrahamic religions, so-called Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Those are the religions that are the image to the beast. Christianity being the most powerful one because that's where Rome come from. All right. So now you got that as the charge, the big deal, the big dog, and everybody else worshiping in that system is worshiping the image. You have the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet. We saw the beast here, Revelation 13:1. We see the dragon. Dragon is in giving power, authority to the first beast and is inside the second beast. The false prophet is the image to that beast, which is a Protestant Christianity. That's the image to the beast. Okay, that's the image to the beast. So let's continue now. You see that picture, beast, dragon, false prophet, which shows up in Revelation chapter 16. Okay, here we are. Revelation chapter 13 is here too. Most people don't see it though. I just showed you. See, you see the beast, Revelation 13:1-4. The dragon, Revelation 13:1-4. Revelation 13:11. The false prophet. Let's read about that right now. Revelation chapter 13. Let's read beginning at verse 12. And let's go from verse 12 down to verse 14. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. He deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should do what? That they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. They should do what? They should make an image to the beast. Now, remember, we hear all the time about the spread of democracy. Democracy includes the business, political, and religious systems of the earth. That's democracy. Now, when we read about the whore in Revelation chapter 17, what it is included in the whore? Notice what it said, verse 17, verse 2. Revelation 17, verse 2, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So you have kings, heads of nations, which lead nations, connected with democracy, connected with the beast, right? And then in Revelation chapter 18, it says in Revelation 18, talking about Babylon, let's read verse 9, Revelation 18, verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off, verse 10, for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And watch verse 11. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn for her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. So you had the kings of the earth, the merchants of the earth in bed with the whore, the beast. And they created this image to the beast, right? They created this image to the beast, and it's democracy, because in it are all of these elements. You have the corporate element, the religious element, right? The political element. Especially it's leading with the political element, but all of them come together in one package, okay? And it's including the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet. For all three of those Abrahamic religions are included, okay? They're all included, right? So now you have the saying, and look what it says. Look what it says, Revelation chapter 13, verse 14. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which it had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell in the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had a wound by a sword and did live. Deceiveth the earth and causeth the earth. Those are important terms. And deceive the earth. So it's deceived them into thinking they're getting something. And it causes them. In other words, it influences them to the degree that they will follow. Does the United States do that? Do they influence the earth to cause it to follow what they are practicing or what they want the earth to practice? Now, and we understand that the whore is in the wilderness. She is pulling the strings in secret. Nobody understands it's her pulling the strings. That's why he went into the wilderness to see her. But she's the origin. She's the queen bee in the nest. See? Right? When you got a bee in a bee's nest and they collecting honey, all the workers go out to get the pollen and stuff to make the honey, but the queen stays in the nest. You don't really see the queen. Isn't that correct? That's what she's doing. She's the queen. You don't see her. She's in secret. But all of the workers are out there bringing her the elements for the honey. So now they're making an image to the beast. The image is already in existence. Now the choice is, as Hebrews, are we going to worship the image or not? As I said, we have to understand who enslaved us, what religions enslaved us, and why were we enslaved by these religions. That's what you need the word to explain to you. Who enslaved you, and what religion were these people that enslaved you, and why? What was your religion before they enslaved you? Who were you before they enslaved you? Where were you? Before Africa, you existed as a nation before Timbuktu. You came way thousands of years before Ghana and Ashanti. You were thousands of years before the Mali Empire. You were thousands of years before that. You were there when Egypt was a power. You were there. Okay? You were there. When Egypt rose up to power under Nimrod, when Mizraim, you were there. That's how far you go back. You were there. All right? Your father was Noah. He was there. Then you had Shem, his son. He was there. Arphaxad, he was there. Eber, he was there. Joktan and Perez, they were there. To Abraham, you were there. You were already there before all of this. Okay, so you existed before these empires. They'll take you back. You were great in these empires. Okay, fine. That's when you were enslaved into Islam. Those are Islamic empires. You existed before that. You go all the way back. Okay, all the way back. So that being the case, when you understand what your religion was, who would you believe, who would you follow, and before all of these things came, and you want to go back to that as the Bible prophesies you should, now you can see there's going to be a problem. Nebuchadnezzar brought the Hebrews to Babylon. And what did he do? He changed their names. They were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. That was their Hebrew names. He changed them. Belteshazzar, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And then he brought them into a Babylonian court to teach them the education of Babylon, to speak the Babylonian language and to become part of the Babylonian kingdom. And he thought he had them all until he put up that image. And then they showed him, no, you might change our names. You might have captured us from our nation. You might have castrated us to become eunuchs, but we're still Hebrews. And they showed that by their obedience to the covenant. And this is where we are today. We come arrive back at the same thing. This goes all the way back to the Tower of Babel. It goes back to Nebuchadnezzar. And here we are right here. It's going to go to the same thing. So they created a system. It's a worldwide system. And we now understand from the word of the Most High, it was the system that enslaved us because of the sins of our fathers, but it's not an individual. There's not one white supremacist above any other white supremacist, right? I mean, right? There's been a lot of white supremacists, but it's not that. It's a system. And in America, it was created with a document, the Constitution. You understand? It was created with a document where they didn't even consider us human beings. See, you got to go to the root of something to understand it, right? You could say anything. They could come up with it. Well, we changed it. We did this and we did that. Look, the root of it, what it was founded on, is that only true men are Caucasian men. That the slaves were not men. And when the slaves tried to become men, they said, okay, we'll make you 3/5 of a man. You know, an ape can be 3/5 of a man, right? We'll make you 3/5 of a man. You're still an animal. You can't change the roots of what made the nation. The tree that is the United States of America has roots, and its roots were in their Constitution. And the proof of that is that nobody can deny the signers that they were slave masters among the signers that made big money trading in Hebrews. What did I say? They made big money trading in Hebrews and had the Hebrews working in fields for their tobacco and their cotton and their sugar cane that they got wealthy on, that built the economy that we have right now. Okay? It all goes back to the roots. What are our roots? Our roots are not in the Mali Empire. Our roots are not in the Ashanti Empire. Our roots are not in Timbuktu. Our roots are Hebrew. Our roots are in Israel. Our roots are in Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Our roots are the 12 tribes. And as we're going back to our roots, there's going to be a problem. There's a clash. You cannot go back to your roots and worship in Babylon, because eventually Babylon's not going to have you anymore. You got to make a decision. And that's what brings us Revelation chapter 13. That's what brings us again to verse 14 and verse 15. Revelation chapter 13, verse 14 and 15. Notice what it says. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. There's Nebuchadnezzar again. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. This is where people get confused that read the Bible on a very cursory level. When you understand Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel 3, you're understanding the mark of the beast. Okay? It's not a literal mark, although the word mark means etching. It still means etching in Ezekiel chapter 9. When the angel was making the etching, it's an unseen etching. You have to understand that. Let me show you. Ezekiel chapter 9. It's only seen by heavenly intelligences. It's not seen by men, right? But it represents a choice of worship. Ezekiel chapter 9. You want to know what the etching really is supposed to be. Ezekiel chapter 9. See, many people look at etching. Oh, I got the answer. I know what it is. There's going to be a mark on you. No, it's not a mark. It's an etching, but it's only one that's seen by the intelligences of the third heaven and of the spirit world. Remember, we're in a spiritual war, brethren. Okay, it's a spirit war. All right, here we go. Ezekiel chapter 9. So Ezekiel is being shown Yah's wrath against his chosen because of the gods they were worshiping. And so now let's start at Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 1. Start at Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 1. Really, though, you want to go back to 8 if you want to see the whole thing in context, but I'm not going to do that today. Go back and read Ezekiel 8 before you read 9, and then you'll see it more clearly. But let me just read the end of 8. Okay, let me read the end of 8. I'm going to read chapter 8. I'm going to read chapter 8. I'm going to read from verse 12. Chapter 8. Then I'm going to go into chapter 9 and read from all the way down to verse 8. Actually, I'm going to read a whole chapter 9 because it's only 11 verses. So I'm going to read from verse I'm going to read from verse 12. Actually, let me do it this way. I'm going to read from verse 11 of chapter 8 to verse 11 of chapter 9. There you go. I'm going to read from verse 11 of chapter 8. But again, I want to admonish you, please read the whole chapter 8 when you get a chance to do that. But let's read from verse 11 of chapter 8 to verse 11 of chapter 9. Okay, everybody got that? And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel. And in the midst of them stood Yaazaniah, the son of Shaphan, with every man his censer in his hand. And a thick cloud of incense went up. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chambers of his imagery. For they say, Yahweh seeth us not. Yahweh hath forsaken the earth. So what they were doing was worshiping a false god with Israelite priestly things. Okay, let's continue. He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of Yahweh's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat woman weeping for Tammuz. That's where you get Christmas from. Woman weeping for Tammuz in Yah's temple. Okay. Verse 15. Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of Yah's house. And behold, at the door of the temple of Yahweh, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of Yahweh, and their faces toward the east, and they worshiped the sun toward the east. This is happening in Yah's place, in Yah's temple, with Yah's chosen. Okay. Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence and have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to their nose. In other words, it stinks, and they put a nice flower so that they don't have to smell the stink that they created, right? Therefore will I also deal in fury. mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. So that's the background as we go into chapter 9. So let's go into chapter 9. This is in the spirit, right? Ezekiel is being shown these things while he's in the spirit, what's going on in the nation. So here we go. He cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth toward the north, every man with a slaughter weapon in his hand. That'd be like a machete, right? One man among them, there were 6 with slaughter weapons, and there was another man, a 7th. One man among them was clothed with linen and with a writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. Let me stop here. So you have a linen. That is a priest from the third heaven. They wear linen. And he had 6 men with slaughter weapons, and the 7th with a writer's inkhorn by his side. Okay, heavenly intelligence is being commanded by the Father Yah, and they stood beside the brazen altar. What's the brazen altar? Brazen means brass. They stood beside a brass altar. Why? Because in the Solomon's temple, they had a brass altar of sacrifice, where they would sacrifice animals in the blood on behalf of the children of Israel. That's why they came with their slaughter weapons and they stood beside the altar of sacrifice. And they had an angel among them with an inkhorn. He was going to write something. What? Let's take a look. Verse 3. And the glory of the Most High of Israel was gone up from the cherub whereupon he was to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. So he called to the angel that had the writer's inkhorn, the priest. He called to him. Why? He didn't call to the 6 yet. He called to the one with the writer's inkhorn. What did he say? Verse 4. And Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and look, set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations done that be done in the midst thereof. So he's saying, of all my faithful servants in this abominable nation that are supposed to be my chosen people, I need you to set a mark on their foreheads. There you go, see? But did the people see the mark? No. But Yah could see the mark. The angels can see the mark. Does that make sense to y'all? Y'all seeing that? Okay. He says, set a mark. Then verse 5. And to the others he said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, and both maids and little children and women, and come not near any man upon whom is the mark. Are you following me? So they saw the mark that Yah had placed on the foreheads of his chosen. Now remember, the mark of the beast is the complete opposite. There's a mark on those that don't belong to Yah, and he sees it. You following me? Okay. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark. Remember, hold the winds. Don't hurt the earth until we have sealed our servants in their foreheads. So Yah's people have a mark, and the rest of the devil's people have a mark. And Yah knows the difference. We don't see it, but they see it. Okay. Here we go. And begin at my sanctuary. Remember what Peter said? Remember what Kaffa said in his letter? Judgment begins with the house of Yah. Okay? To the Jew first, and also to the Gentile. Begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. These are your sellout leaders that are supposed to be leading the people to Yah, but instead are leading them to false religions and leading them to falsehoods and for doing it for money. And he said unto them, defile the house and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. And it came to pass while they were slaying them, I was left. that I fell upon my face and cried and said, Ah, Most High Yahweh, wilt thou destroy all the residue of Israel in the pouring out of thy fury upon Jerusalem? See, they were getting busy so that he didn't think anybody was going to survive. In fact, he alone was left with the Most High. Okay. Then said he unto me, the iniquity of the house of Israel and Judah is exceeding great, and the land is full of blood, and the cities full of perverseness. For they say, Yahweh hath forsaken the earth, and Yahweh seeth not. As for me also, my eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense their way upon their head. And behold, the man clothed with linen, which had the inkhorn by his side, reported the matter, saying, I have done as thou hast commanded me. So he had already sealed his servants with a mark, an etching, but only the intelligences of the spirit could see it. It's the same in Revelation chapter 13. Like I said, unless you're reading the whole Bible, you're looking at it on a cursory level, like many people do. They're gonna say, oh, somewhere it's a tattoo, oh, it's a computer chip, it's the vaccination. Come on now. Read the word. Come on now. No, it's a mark you can't see, but it's based on your decision. Your decision. Are you going to follow your God, the only true Father, Yah? Or are you going to follow the image to the beast? All of us are in Babylon. We're all going to be brought to make a choice. Right now, you and I can make a choice to come out of the religious systems of Babylon and come to our Father by Messiah Yahushua. Right? We could do that. That's our choice. And then we're headed in the direction of being ready to receive Yah's seal in our forehead. Because everybody that doesn't receive Yah's seal is receiving the mark of the beast. Now, let's continue. Let's go back to Revelation 13. Now you understand this is about your decision of who and what you're going to worship. It starts with the Hebrews, and then the Gentiles that see the Hebrew truth, and they come with us and join with us. That's what Paul said. You're grafted in. He didn't say you're just grafted into Yah. He said you're grafted in among them. Among whom? The true Hebrews of the olive tree. See, you Gentiles, you're not a God, you're not a religion unto yourself. You are grafted into the scattered nation of the former slaves. Praise the Most High. That's why I tell you, it's like Paul tell you in Ephesians. You used to be called Gentiles. You used to be called white people. But now you will openly declare you are now with the Hebrews. And somebody will say, well, who's the Hebrews? Are you Jewish? No, I'm not Jewish. I'm an Israelite with the true Hebrews. Now you're going to really catch the wrath of your cousins. They're going to call you, at the least, they'll call you a nigger lover. I mean, right? Some of y'all already dealing with it. You're in some sort of cult, right? That's right. So you could be grafted in with us. Let's ride. You ready to take your stand? Because that's what you're going to have to do. That's what you're going to have to do. Because that's what it is. It's not a literal mark that you and I are going to see. But there's a mark, just like the seal of the Most High Yah on the foreheads of the servants are not going to be sealed by, it's not going to be seen by people, but the results will be seen. Your obedience will be seen. Your fidelity to Yah's covenant will be seen. How do I know that? You remember Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Was their faithfulness seen? How was it seen? It was seen in their decision to tell Nebuchadnezzar, no, we're not going to worship your image. If you kill us, we're not going to worship your image. We don't even have to think about that. We're not careful to answer you. No. And that's what the Hebrew is going to say. We ain't got to think about that. Oh, you want to take it? Take it. No. Praise Yah. Okay, let's continue. Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. Let's start again from verse 14. From verse 14 down to verse now 18. Let's talk about 666. Okay, now you understand it's not about an etching on your skin. It's about your decision whether to worship the image that is created that already exists, We're already in the image system. We're already here. Okay. But it's going to get stronger as it becomes locked down. Like I'm saying, you got China, Cuba, Russia, they all gonna get locked down. That's gonna happen. Bible is telling us. Ain't gonna be nothing that's gonna hurt, that's gonna destroy the United States. No, the Bible, remember what it said when we read Daniel 8, he shall be destroyed without hand. Remember Daniel chapter 2, the stone cut without hands hit the image and smote it and destroyed it. That's Father Yah Messiah. So this United States is not going to be destroyed by human hands. The return of Messiah will destroy it. And then we'll be involved with its destruction at that point, but we'll be led by Yahweh Shah. You understand? Okay. Praise the Most High. See? Read your Bible. Read the whole thing. Start at Genesis. Go to Revelation and do it again. Read the whole thing. Okay. There you go. Praise the Most High. No, it's not a chip and it's not a shot. See, I went through all that to tell you that. It's not a chip and it's not a shot. It's neither. You don't got to worry about that. There's not the word tell us. You shall drink a deadly thing and it shall not hurt you. Does not the word tell us no weapon formed against you shall prosper? Does it say that or doesn't it? Does it? Come on now. If it says no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Now, this is for the awakened Israelites. When you are awakened and you come to the truth, you don't have to worry about their shots. You don't have to worry about nothing they put out. No RFID means anything to you. Hey, look, let me ask you a question. The RFID chip, okay, can the Most High cause it not to work? If they put if they did put it in you and they wanted to locate you, could Yah say no? Could he? Could he say no? No, I'm not going to let you find them. Because that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm not going to let you find them. What you worry about it for then? Do you believe in your God or don't you? That's what it comes down to, brethren. Do you believe in your God or don't you? Come on now. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Every tongue that rises up against you in judgment, you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh. And he says, their righteousness is of me. Don't worry about no chip, no shot. See, that's the media messing with y'all. What does the word tell us? Are we believing the word or you believe in the media? Come on now. That's what y'all think. I'm telling you, this ain't no joke, man. Either you win or you're not. You know what I'm saying? This ain't no joke. So either you worry about what they tell you about a shot or you're not worried about it because your God got your back. Come on, man. Come on, man. There's nothing that can hurt you that he don't allow. And this is for awakened Hebrews. There's a lot of brothers and sisters not awakened. They caught up in the system. We were too before we were awakened. But once you come to Yah and you cling to him for his glory, there's nobody that can hurt you, that he don't want to touch you. Okay? Again, brethren and sisters, what did I just spend all my time going through? Did I go through all that for you to still believe that a shot or an RFID chip is the mark of the beast? Did I go through all of that for y'all to still believe that? Come on now. Come on now. We just went through Ezekiel 8. We just showed Daniel. Y'all did the homework, right? Daniel chapter 3. Y'all did the homework, right? Daniel chapter 3. Come on. Come on now. Wake up. Come on, baby. Come on. We right here. Let's do this now. All right. All right. So now, Revelation chapter 13. Please read Daniel 3 and you will understand what the image of the beast means. And you will understand what it means to receive the mark. You will understand. Okay. Read Daniel 3. Read Ezekiel chapter 9. I just gave you 2 chapters that when you read them, you will see clearly. Don't listen to media. Media is always going to lie to you. Christian preachers are always lying to you. Christian preachers are always lying to you. They can't help it. They're not the servants. You understand? Please read these things for yourself. so you don't get caught up. See how strong the brainwashing is strong now. It is. It really is. Pray to the Most High. There you go. Let's go. Revelation chapter 13. Revelation 13. Revelation 13. I'm going to read from verse 14 down to verse 18. We're going to get into this 666 now. Okay. Revelation 13 from verse 14 to verse 18. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. That means under the orders, under the supervision of the first beast. Saying to them that dwell on the earth worldwide, that they should make an image to the beast which had a wound by a sword and did live. The beast image is where you have church, state, and government and religion and money and finance all together under one power. Okay, that's Rome. The same power. The office of the Pope is the head of the church, is the head of the state, which is the Vatican, is the head of the banking system. You got the same thing in the United States right now. Only thing, the office is not the office of the Pope. It's the office of the presidency. Did you hear what I said? And in Rome, you got your Jesuit order behind the scenes running everything. In the United States, you got several of them. You got corporations, and you got your CIA, NSA crews. Same system. Okay. Same system. Okay, let's continue. And he had power to give life unto the image. That means when he gave life, that means he gives it force. He gives it force. He had power to give life to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and his causes would not, as many as would not do what? Worship the image should be killed. This is about worship. This is not about a political choice. This is about a religious choice. The first stage of coming out of Babylon is to stop worshiping Babylon religion. We're all in the system of Babylon. You can't tell me you're going to leave the economic system of Babylon. You can't. Any piece of land you own or think you own, they can take from you. Have you never heard of Tulsa, Oklahoma? Have you ever heard of Wildwood, Florida? Have you ever heard of Wilmington, North Carolina, and know what happened in those areas when we thought we owned stuff and we were prospering? Come on. They don't care about their own constitution. When it comes to the Hebrews, they will take your stuff. You cannot leave Babylon's economic system. That's the second stage, but we'll talk about that right here. But right now, we could leave the religious system. We can decide to worship our Father Yah. He has ordained it. He has opened the path for us to awaken. Okay, that's why we're here. Okay, let's continue. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or their forehead. Now, we don't see that. Ezekiel chapter 9. That no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. That means you're in the system. You're in the system. You ever go somewhere, you go to a bank, right? And you say, I want to look up account so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. And somebody goes into their computer and they're looking up this account for you. And they'll say, what? What are they going to say? You're not in the system. Has that ever happened to you? I don't see that in the system. I don't see that order number. I don't see that account number. I don't see that name in the system. Have you ever seen that happen to you? Because now you're getting a little piece of what's coming. Unless you had the name of the beast, the number of the beast, right? Or you had the mark in your right hand or your forehead, or the number of his name. You're not going to be in the system. Okay? Now, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. And here's the big thing. It is the number of a man. And his number is 600, 6. And this is where Antichrist, as some singular person that people are looking for, fools everybody. So they're looking for some guy that's going to show up and you're going to say, this is your image, this is your Antichrist right here. Well, we've been showing you from the word, the whole system is Antichrist. It's a system. It's a system. And so now, what is the system? Well, we know the beast, the dragon, the false prophet. So now you got the devil, you got Rome, the religious power, the false prophet, apostate Protestant America, Protestant America, leading the earth with democracy, which has all of that involved in it, including the three Abrahamic religions. Three Abrahamic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Three Abrahamic religions. Okay? Thank you, Akawa. Okay? So now you have that. So now, what next now? 6, 6, 6. Okay? Are you ready? I want to make sure you're hearing me, because I don't want no confusion here. Everybody, please type a 1 if you can hear me, so we can go into this 666. Okay? Type a 1, please, if you can hear me. I want to make sure we got this. Okay? You ready? Okay. Where's the first time we see the number 6 in the Bible? The first time you see the number 6 in the Bible, where do you see it? The first time you see the number 6 is in Genesis, is it not? It's in the creation week you see the number 6. The first time you see the number 6 is during creation, right? Well, let's go back there. Let's go look at it. And that's in Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1. Here, beginning the first 6. Genesis chapter 1, beginning at verse 24. Genesis chapter 1 from verse 24, and let's go down to verse 31. Okay, there's more extensive talk about the 6th day than any other of the 7 days, even more than the Sabbath. Notice what happens here. Genesis chapter 1 from verse 24 to verse 31, the 6th day. And Yah said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle, creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And Yah made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And Yah saw that it was very good. And Yah said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So Yah created man in his own image. In the image of Yah created he him. Male and female created he them. And Yah blessed them. And Yah said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And Yah said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And Yah saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the 6th day. So on the 6th day, what did he make? He made cattle, creeping things, beasts of the earth, and he made man. And he told man on the 6th day, have dominion over everything else that's made. Did I get that correct or didn't I? He said, let's make man in our image on the 6th day. And he said, have dominion over the earth. Right? That's the first time you see 6 in the Bible. All right, you're testing. Y'all follow me right there? All right, there you go. All right, so now let's look at the story of what happened with the dragon, which is called the serpent. Serpent and dragon are synonymous in the Bible, serpent and dragon. So let's take a look at this. Revelation chapter 3, 1 through 7. Revelation 3, 1 through 7. Pay attention closely now. Man was made on the 6th day. That's man's number, 6. Okay. Now the serpent was more subtle. That's the dragon. Than any beast of the field which Yahweh Most High had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, hath Yah said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Most High hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent, the dragon, said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For Yah doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened. Here you go. And ye shall be as what? gods, knowing good and evil. So he promises them to be the level of a god if they disobey the Creator. Okay? Verse 6. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise or God, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. They made themselves covering, because now they chose to try to be gods. Man on the sixth day trying to be a god at the suggestion of the dragon. We're not finished. Verse 22. Revelation chapter 3, verse 22. And Yahweh Most High said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore, Yahweh Most High sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man and placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. So man was made on the sixth day. The devil suggested he could be a god, and he received that. Okay, now let's go back to where we were earlier today. Deuteronomy chapter 4, where we were earlier. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27 and 28. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27, 28. Remember, we read this earlier. We read all the way down to 37. But right now, we are talking about 27 and 28. Okay, now, from what we already read, man was made on the sixth day. They were offered godship. They received that offer from the enemy. They covered themselves with aprons. Later on, Yah would give them skins of animals that were sacrificed to cover them. They made themselves their own covering out of aprons, out of fig leaves. But Yah gave them his own covering. That's showing their salvation. He covered them with skins of animals that were sacrificed. Read that in Genesis 3 when you get a chance. Then he made the proclamation. They have become as one of us, like gods, to know good and evil. Now we got to kick them out the garden because we can't let them have the fruit of the tree of life because they'll live forever. See you. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27 and 28. Okay. I'm not going to argue with you about that. If you want to believe in the chip, sincere Israel, go ahead and do that. Okay. But Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27 and 28. And Yahweh shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither Yahweh shall lead you. And there ye shall serve gods. Wait, what does it say? The work of whose hand? The work of Yah's hand? The work of Yah's hand? What does it say? You shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone. The work of whose hands? Verse 28. This is Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27 and 28. And there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear nor eat nor smell. So false gods from man. Man thought he could be a god. 6 is his number. Are you following me so far? 6 is his number. He thought he could be a god. 6 is his number. What do you have? You have the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet. 3, worshiping man, the doctrine that man can be God. What is Yah's answer? 7 churches, 7 seals, 7 trumpets. And within those 7, he brings forth out of the 6s, the 144,000. In the 7 churches, it's in the 6th church, Philadelphia, that you see the 144,000. In the 7 seals is in the 6th seal that you see the 144,000. In the 7 trumpets is in the 6th trumpet that you see the 144,000 and the 2 witnesses, remember? So 6, 6, 6 is answered by Yah's 144,000. Man saying he's God. The religions are the work of men's hands. Let's take it a step further. the three Abrahamic religions that dominate the planet: Christianity, Judaism, Islam, the work of men's hands. Are you seeing it? There is no literal mark. Right now, you ever get to the point, brothers and sisters, where you overdraw your account and you got your little plastic debit card from your bank and you swipe it somewhere and they say, what do they say when you don't have the money there? They say your card has been declined. Do they not say that? Your card has been declined. Look, what else happened? How do you get money? Generally, we get money on a card. And generally, money is not only on a card, but it's digits in the bank. So if you ever get your tax return, right, and you say, have it deposited into my bank, they could send you a check. They could put it on a card, or they put it directly in your bank. But you never see the cash, right? And then you get the card. Insufficient funds, declined, right? Not enough credit, right? Y'all got me? It's not, they don't need to put a mark on you. And wait. You got a cell phone, right? Whenever people are missing and they get the cell phone number, how do they find them? You remember Gabby and her boyfriend last summer? How did they find them? They were looking for what? The cell phone. Why? Because they can ping the cell phone and they can find you anywhere. You see what I'm saying? They can find you anywhere with your cell phone. And look, don't we all live by the cell phone? All the information's on the cell phone. All your people's on the cell phone. All your contacts on the cell phone. All your pictures on the cell phone. Can they not find you? They can find you. So what? They don't need a chip. They can find you. They can find you anywhere. And in fact, even if you didn't have a cell phone, even if you didn't have a card, there's cameras everywhere. In every major city, there's cameras everywhere. You can look and you can see when there's a crime committed, they usually got the picture of the dude. Oh, this is what he looked like. They be trying to cover their face up and they still find you. Why? Because they got facial recognition in the camera. They don't need an RFID chip to find you. That's my point to you. They can find you. You don't care where you do, where you go. You walked into an airport, they got you. As soon as you walked in, they got your picture. They done took facial recognition. They got everything. Where'd you last use your car? They know where you are. Or where you're not. They'll call you. Sir, was your car stolen? You're in New York and somebody in Dallas, Texas is using your car. No, that's not me. Stop the transaction. Boom. Happened to me when I went to Mexico. I went to Mexico and I bought a pair of shoes. And dude, he looked over my shoulder and saw, right? The next thing, somebody was in Berlin, Germany, using my car. It didn't take but 2 days. And I called the company and said, oh, you know, we'll shut it down. Brothers and sisters, it's not about an RFID chip. It's not about a shot. They can find you wherever you go. Don't matter. If you're in this system, they can find you. They can find you. That's right. Enemy of the state. There you go. There you go. That's a good example, Jacob. That's exactly right. That's a good example. But they can find you. There's no question. They can find you. There's your phone. There's your cards. You know, and like an enemy state, you got shoes on. They can find you. They're not worried about where you at. And they can shut down your whole game. Why is my car working? Why isn't my car working? So that's happened to me a couple of times because of mistakes. Not saying that I've never, overdrawn my account, but it's happened to me. And I've had, oh shoot, it's a good thing I got another credit card. Boom. You know what I'm saying? Because they could shut you down, man. They could shut you down. Okay, we're in the Babylonian system. So right now we have choice. We can decide to follow Yah and not worship the Babylonian system. Nothing's going to happen to us right now. But it's building up to the point where it's telling us in the book of Revelation, unless you're in the 666 system, man-made religion, the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet, unless you're in the 666 system, you're going to be cut off. You won't be able to buy or sell. Why is it the forehead or the hand? The forehead is a conscious decision. The hand is that you're just in the system. You're not making no conscious decision. You're just a follower. You hear me say? You got people that just follow. They want to keep their job. They want to keep their benefits, right? You know, I'm not losing my Social Security over this. I'm not losing my pension over this. What? No. That's the hand. But the leaders, the people that are preaching these lies to you, the people that are deceiving you, that's the forehead. The systems that put people in position to deceive you, that's the forehead. Okay? And you can't see it, but you'll see the decision. And here's the result. You'll go to the store, and when yours is declined, hey, they're going to have this message come up. You know, it's not going to just say decline, you know, for lack of funds. It's going to say transaction decline. Then it's going to have something else that says, oh, wait a minute, this is a problem. You're a problem. And everybody's going to look at you funny. See? You know how you feel when it says, oh, this card is declined. How does that feel? You're online. You got all your groceries there. And swipe the card. Oh, this card is declined. How you feel? Imagine then you're gonna have no money, and ain't nobody gonna give you anything. Nobody's gonna help you. It's gonna be Yah. That's why pray to Yah that your flight be not in winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Pray to Yah that He bring you to the place that He ordains for you to be. Because when you're in the place where He ordains for you to be, it's the best place to be. He will protect you, guide your steps, and He will provide for you. But don't try to do it on your own. Don't be like man. That's the whole point. Follow your Heavenly Father. Follow your Heavenly Father. You understand? Follow your Heavenly Father. And He will guide your steps. It's as simple as that. Follow Yah. Give Him glory, right? And ask Him for His direction. He will show you. He will show you. Okay? Don't worry about man. Don't worry about their chips or their shots or their gases or their whatever, their weapons. Don't worry about man. Your Father's above all of that. He's more powerful than all of that. He's not worried about them. You shouldn't either. Okay? Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. Kind of embarrassing indeed. Okay? But that's what happened, right? So, brothers and sisters, yeah, there's a lot of brainwashing around the mark of the beast, but I just showed you in the word, right? Right? Showed you in the word. There you go. Okay? Man-made religion. It says it is the, what does it say? It is the number of a man. See? There you go. Yeah. Praise the Most High. Please review this for yourself on your own. There's some scriptures I didn't read, but I suggested that you read. Please go read Daniel 3. Go read Ezekiel 8 and 9. Right? Reread the scriptures that we did go through in Genesis and more. There's more. I told you about the skins that the Most High made for Adam. That's significant. That He made He killed 2 animals so that Adam and Eve can be clothed. That's representing sacrifice of Messiah. Okay. Look at that for yourself in Genesis chapter 3 and look and pray to your Father. And please continue to read your word. Continue to read the word. Okay, continue to read it. The beginning of the first month is this week. The first, it just so happened that the 1st and 2nd of April is the first days of the first month of the Hebrew year. So you got to go 14 days later. You'll know when the Passover is. You want to see? Are y'all hearing? Let me give you the sign. This is when the Passover is. It's the 15th and 14th day of the month. Let me ask you a question. Here's how you know. What is the moon on the 15th day of the month? What phase is the moon? Remember, we're in the lunar calendar on the Hebrew. So what phase is the moon on the 15th day of the month? Talk to me now. That's right. That's right. It's full moon. So the next full moon you see will be the Passover. That's the next full moon you see. Okay. Look that up and you get a chance. When you see the full moon, that's in the Hebrew calendar, that's the 15th day of the month. So the first day of the month is when the new moon comes, right? So the new moon is the first day of the month. We're going to see a new moon either the 1st or the 2nd of April. That's the new moon. That's the 12th. That's the first day of the year for the Hebrew. Yeah. So that's the new moon. 2 weeks later, the moon phase goes to full. That's the middle of the month. That's the 15th day of the month. Okay. Passover is the 14th day of the month. But on the 14th day of the month, it will still look full. If you know the full moon, it looks full for a couple of days. So the first time you'll see it, it's just like very slightly not full, but very slightly. It looks full. That's the 14th day. Then the second time you'll see it's full, like completely full. That's the 15th day of the month. Okay. 15th day of the month. And then a week later, it's over because the left side of the moon, that's the half moon. Left side of the moon is still light and the right side is dark. Now you finished 8 days. You know, see what I'm saying? Until you go another, 15 days, you go to the end. So that's how you see. So this week, like 1st and 2nd of April, that's actually the new moon. They see, because the heathen look at the new moon as completely dark, but Hebrews and actually Muslims who copy Hebrews don't look at it like that. When you see the first light of the moon, they call it the crescent. That's the beginning of the moon. That's why when you see Islamic signs in a calendar, they show you that crescent because they're showing you it's the new month. The crescent represents a new month. You ever see that? You'll see with Islam, you'll see a crescent moon with a star in it. That's the new month. Okay. So with the heathen look at it when it's dark, but that's not. Because see, if you do by the heathen thing, you'll have 29 days. You can't have a 29-day month for a whole year, 29-day month, because you have 354 days and you'll end up messing with your seasons. And you end up one day having spring and it'll be December because, as the years go by, you're messing with your seasons. Okay. So, but there's 30-day months in the Hebrew. And so it's when it's that dark part is the 30th day. And then you're starting a new moon. You see the first, that's why I say the 2nd of April, you should be seeing, if you have a clear night, you'll see the beginning of the new month. Okay. Castle King is good. He asked, how do we observe it? We don't have to observe it now. We observe it when we get in the kingdom. Israel only observed the new moon when they was in the land. They didn't observe it when they were scattered. When they were free, they observed the new moon. We're not free. We're in Babylon. When we're in the kingdom, we'll observe the new moon. Okay? And the Passover. You can't really observe it here. Because in order to observe the Passover, aside from being outside of Jerusalem, which you're really not supposed to do it outside of Jerusalem, but even if you were going to do it, right, you have to be 8 days. The Passover is 8 days, right? So you'd have to ask off from your job. Did the Israelites have to ask time off from their job to observe the Passover? Did they ever do that? Did they have to say, please, boss, can I get off for 8 days to observe the Passover? Can't do. They never know. But you did see them in captivity keeping the Sabbath. That's the covenant. That's a different thing. You did see them in captivity keeping the Sabbath. Pharaoh said that you make the people to rest. They were in Babylon, right? And we know that under Esther they kept the Sabbath. So you can keep the covenant. You don't have to steal, kill, worship other gods when you're in the foreign land. But in terms of the feasts of Yahweh, you're supposed to keep them in the land because they're feasts. They're signs of your freedom. They're signs of your nation. Okay? We're not like other people. You can observe it. It's not against the Most High's law to observe it, but you can't properly observe it unless you're free. Right? 3 times a year, you got to be free for a week. You got that much time off from your job? You got that much time off from your job? You see what I'm saying? Because it's not on a weekend. It could be any day, right? It goes by the moon phases. It could be any day. It's not on a weekend. It's not a 3-day weekend, Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend. That's not how Yah does it. It's when the moon phases come. And so you keep that in the moon phases. Okay. But people do, observe it in their own way. Hebrews do. There's nothing wrong with that. You're just observing what it's a foretaste of what's coming. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can't really observe it the way you should, right? Hebrews try to do it. They meet on a weekend to observe these things. But what is Sukkot, right? What does that mean? What is Sukkot? If it's a feast, it falls under the same category of what we're talking about, right? So people can they'll call it Sukkot or they'll call it Passover. That's fine. You can get together on those things and try to get together on that weekend when you have off of work, right? And observe that. No problem. But understand that the true observance is not going to happen until we're in the kingdom with Yah. Okay? Yeah, in the Feast of Tabernacle, right? So you can't observe these things in your enemy's land because your enemy controls you. Yeah, your enemy controls you, but we can observe them in the kingdom. But we can make note and we can get together. Like, if you want to, you see the new moon, and this year the new moon happens to be on a weekend, right? The 2nd of April is a Sabbath. We can observe the new moon together, but we understand we're in our enemy's land. It's just so happened it's on the Sabbath. Okay, great. You understand? That will give us the chance to do it if we want to do it. You observe it like a Sabbath. It's a celebration, new moon. Okay? Okay, but understand that we're in our enemy's land. And if it came on a Wednesday, your boss might have a problem. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, just worship the Most High and observe his covenant, which is between you and him, which even Babylon knows. Now, Babylon has weekend so that you can observe Sabbath. Yeah, weekend. You understand? So praise the Most High Yah. I hope I answered the question. By the way, we're going to have a question and answer. Actually, we were supposed to have it today, the last Sabbath of the month, but we're going to probably do it next week. We'll probably do it next week. The second part, we'll have a question and answer. Once a month, we have a question and answer. So we'll do that by the grace of the Most High next Sabbath at the second part, the afternoon part. Okay? So until then, the Most High bless you and keep you. And he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom.